Barnes, here's Jack the other way, blocked by Green, out of bounds as time runs out.
Actions, and the Clippers up 7 at that point. Klay Thompson gives it to Draymond.
While LeBron was in the middle of his rivalry with the Spurs, all the attention was on him and Kawhi. Besides Durant, Kawhi was considered the only one who could challenge LeBron. Meanwhile, a new force to be reckoned with was on the rise below anyone's radar. No one was ready for what was coming.
And for the first time since 1976, the Warriors are going to the conference finals. Josh Smith, precious time leaving. Harden sets fakes. Now fires a three. Off. Rebound back out to Terry. His jumper won't go. And the Warriors take game one.
Back in 2009, Golden State Warriors had to choose between an established scorer in Monte Ellis and a young, upcoming potential in Steph Curry. Ellis was a solid player who was respected around the league for what he could do, but the Warriors knew he wasn't going to be the one to win them a championship. Little did they know, that was the best decision they would ever make. By trading Ellis to the Milwaukee Bucks, they got Andrew Bogut in return, who proved to be a great big man in their first title run. The pick they acquired in that trade resulted in Harrison Barnes, and the year after Klay Thompson and Draymond Green were drafted. Every front office takes players whom they think will improve the team, but they probably had no idea they were creating NBA history during those times. Unfortunately, just like any other basketball era, this one seems to have run its course. The question that's asked all throughout sports media today is, are we witnessing the end of Golden State's dynasty? The only way to know for sure is to take a look at the past and look for indicators that could help us conclude whether they have enough gas in the tank for one more chip. If we start from Steph, he's the only one still playing like a basketball superstar. Yes, age has caught up with him a bit, but he's still more than capable of making defenders miserable. We all know when he catches a hot hand, whoever's guarding him is going to have a long night. However, those games are not as common as they once were. You probably remember when Steph Curry was main news every other night. 40 points, 50 points, back to 40 points again. He spoiled us into thinking hitting 8 to 10 threes was normal. He changed how the game is being played today, but is no longer feared like he once was. 0 for 9, 7 of 15, 8 for 18, 4 of 16, and 1 of 10. Despite how unbelievable this sounds, they're his three-point attempts over the course of the last 5 games. That doesn't look like someone who's an offensive menace, but more like someone who has very little help around. He can't carry the entire team anymore, and seems to be taking so many forced shots unlike before. His overall efficiency has also taken a massive hit. When it comes to field goals, Steph is 2 for 13, 9 of 22, 11 for 26, 6 of 21, and 6 of 19 in his last 5. If you want to keep a dynasty alive, you need your main superstar veteran to play much different than this. But it's not like all the blame is on him. Actually, he's much better than expected. Everyone expects players at 35 years of age to slow down a bit. However, since winning the last championship in 2022, Curry's points per game went from 25.5 to 27.1, which is not bad for one of your oldest guys on the roster. The problem, however, is that he seems to be the only one that's left from the dynasty. The role players he's surrounded with are not on the same level as ones he had before, and the rest of the Warriors trio is having all kinds of trouble. Speaking of the first one, Klay Thompson has been on a decline ever since his injury back in 2019, but this year he's been unrecognizable. On some occasions, he looked almost like an amateur player who forgot all the shooting and defense fundamentals. He went from a guy who can score 37 points in 1 quarter to someone who now needs 4 games to score 37. His minutes went down significantly, and starting off the bench for the first time in his career must have been tough for someone who was the best shooting guard in the league at one point. The term Splash Brothers doesn't seem so scary now as it once was, which is mostly Klay's doing. He still shoots around 37% beyond the arc, which is solid for the league standards, but it's far from what we've become used to seeing from him in his best days. Game 6 Klay was the reason many teams didn't feel joy despite having a 3-2 lead, and single-handedly changed the course of the NBA's history by stopping OKC from making their second finals appearance. Just imagine how different everything would have been if Game 6 Klay never emerged in that series. OKC plays the Cavs in the finals, Durant stays with the Thunder, LeBron potentially takes longer to deliver the championship to Cleveland, maybe never signs with the Lakers. Those 41 points made on 61.1% from 3 were enough to shape the league's landscape for the next half a decade. Klay made KD quit on his franchise and join the Warriors so he could have the best chances of securing a title before he retires. That's how strong they were, and Klay's offense was a huge reason for that. It's sad seeing him not being able to perform similarly to his glory days, even though a lot of that can be contributed to previous injuries. However, However, what most people criticize him for isn't his lack of athleticism, but the attitude he's shown during some of his press conferences. In his defense, sports media can hit the nerve with their questions sometimes, but he owes it to himself, his teammates, and his organization to remain professional and let his game do the talking. The best course of action for Klay would be to take a look at Reggie Miller's and Ray Allen's careers and model his playing after their later season. They both kept their efficiency while handling both age and injuries. If he manages to do that, the Warriors front office might decide to keep him around instead of trading him and potentially see the chance for one more run. It's not exaggeration to say the destiny of Golden State's dynasty will mainly be decided by Klay's ability to bring back some of that dog inside him. Steph has shown he still has miles in those legs despite being 35, and Draymond's flaws could be compensated by signing proper role players around them. Speaking of Draymond, his defense is still good as he can still be the orchestrator of the Warriors' flow. The biggest issue with Draymond is inside his head, and that's his mentality towards the game. In 2023, during one of his basketball podcasts, he said he knew the writings on the wall, meaning the best days of Golden State are over. The timing of him saying that indicated he did it only as a tactic for negotiating a larger contract, but that sentence right there might be the problem with both him and Klay. If the members of the dynasty think the dynasty is over, then the dynasty is over, period. The problem with that type of thinking is that it doesn't match up in reality as much as both of them think. The lack of athleticism isn't the problem as much as they think, but it's their heads. Let's be real. Neither Klay nor Green were famous for dunking over people or making crazy chase downs like LeBron. Some might say Draymond was the defensive player of the year, but he wasn't because of his size or strength, but his timing, ability to read the offense, and stop bigger guys by poking the ball and driving them far from the paint. The thing is, he can still do those things, just like Klay can bring back his shot. The main question is, what would it take to make them believe they're still winners? Steve Kerr should be the one to address this aspect and keep his players in line, but it's not quite clear what the relationships are like within the Warriors locker room right now, especially after Klay was benched and semi-cryptic comments were made by both of them. Coach Kerr is also a part of the dynasty and should be held accountable for Golden State's lack of belief in themselves. The biggest criticism directed his way was letting go of Jordan Poole, who is a crucial part of their last title run alongside Andrew Wiggins. Yes, Poole may be playing bad in Washington.
That'll be Jordan Poole's final foul of the night as he fouls out.
The situation is more complex than it seems. If him and Wiggins were still both on the Warriors, the dynasty would still be more than alive and present in the contender conversation. The biggest mistake Kerr and the Warriors office did was trying to fix the Green Poole incident by cutting one of them instead of finding the real cause of all the drama surrounding the franchise, which is Draymond's immaturity and anger issues. We remember how KD was frustrated with Draymond back in the day, so Poole may not be the one to blame for the lack of chemistry they experienced the season after winning a chip. He seemed to enjoy his third Splash Brothers status, and all of a sudden, he was gone. If we were to compare the Warriors' hopes for another chip to a stand-up comedy show, we could say Draymond ended them with a bad punchline. If Golden State was to revive the dynasty, it will take more than just Steph's willingness to play his heart out night after night. A lot of things would have to fall into place, such as their main core being healthy, other teams having bad seasons, and rival star players such as Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, or Giannis getting injured. This season may not be the one where they could pursue another title, but they could give it another shot before disbanding their original trio if they manage to fire up some of their hunger and surround them with the right role players. That's it for today, dear friends. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments below what you think of the situation the Golden State Warriors have found themselves to be in. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.